Okay, so this is video 6. So we say, goodbye, 50,000 celestial yesteryear. Colonialism, imperialism, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, homosexual, feminism, no, religiously homosexual. Now, I know there are, people, same gender lovers out there. I know that. And alhamdulillah, we accept that. If people don't get sex changes just to have sex. That doesn't make sense. So we got to be sympathetic, empathetic to others and what they are emotionally going through, psychologically going through. So this, when I say homosexuals, I'm not talking about the same gender lovers. No, not that at all. I'm talking about those who practice homosexuality as a religion, as the Askenaz, the synagogue of Satan does. Those who worship, let's say, the Crowleys of the world. Those are the homosexuals, right? Not our LGBT community. No, because there's going to be, LGBT uh, people in the kingdom. Right? There will be people who transcend the gate. I mean, the door into the fifth dimension, and they're LGBT, right? So, judgment is up to Allah, not any human being, right? But those who are religiously homosexual, right, of the synagogue of Satan, as Nazis were, those are the homosexuals that try to destroy the culture of humanity and force the whole world, that ideology, upon the whole world, and stagnate the world. We're not supporting that, right? Okay, but we do look out for the well-being of our LGBT, right? We don't look to persecute anyone. We're not looking to oppress anyone. None of that, okay? And those are the ones that are supporting feminism and trying to destroy divine masculinity, right? So we don't support that either. We support the divine masculine. We honor the divine masculine, and we honor the divine feminine. Okay? We're not trying to destroy one or the other. It's not misogyny here, nor is it feminism here, right? Other than the respect of the divine feminine, as she, it has her role to in supporting society and its development, okay, upon the man and the child. So we say goodbye to the celestial 50,000, to the 50,000 celestial yesteryear and all of its negativity, its plantation unconsciousness, its occupation, its warmongering, and its gin-filled demonic red dragon, SS Khazarian or Ukrainian what I call it, Nazi, Nazi Zionist, Neanderthal, rat child, Antichrist, abomination, Shaitanyahu, Baphomet, damnation, culture of death. C'est la vie, right? C'est la vie. We don't. We no longer does the heaven support that Baal shit. Right? No longer does the heaven support that unholy Baal shit. That can go by way of, inshallah, hellfire. Okay. So, as we said, now that's why that's why Biden was working so hard in sending all the money to Ukraine, right, and trying to keep that war going, because they are the same Nazis that did that Holocaust, right? They are the same Nazis that enslaved Hebrew Israelites, right? Because as it was said, the DNA and most of those people who are enslaved, right, have Ashkenazi DNA in their genome, right? So now you know who, right, the enslavers were. And they were not all Europeans who enslaved Hebrew Israelites. It was the Nazis. It was the Antichrist. It was the Ukrainians. It was the synagogue of Satan, right? And not Obama, but not to say that he's getting better, because from what I understand, he's a descendant of Hitler. That's what's rumored. That's what's stated, right? By way of his mother, by way of his mother being a daughter of Hitler, right? That's what's stated. Now, but anyway, so where was I gonna go with that? Oh, Biden, all right. He said he was. What did he say he was? He said he admitted he's a Zionist. So if he's a Zionist is a Nazi, and he was a empathizer for the KKK, right? From what I heard, Strom Thurmond was a big Antichrist, and Antichrist means anointed one, anti family of Abraham, anti Judaism, anti-Christian, anti-Muslim, right? Antichrist, right? Because we all believe in the prophet born of a virgin, right? Okay. Okay, so now, so the Ukrainians, as we said, right? The Ashkenazis, right? Are the Neanderthal, right? The how can I say? Ukrainians, I'm gonna call it Ukrainians because I ain't gonna try to get, what I want my speech to be correct, if you know what I mean. So the Ukrainians are the Neanderthals, the SS Nazis, Zionists, followers of Saul. So those, when Saul or Paul went into the churches, right? When he met with the apostles, he began to learn from them, and then he adopted his own theological perspective, right? And then he went into Turkey, and he began to back into Byzantine and Rome, okay, and he began to teach this, right? His perspective of what the Christ said, right? What the prophets born of a virgin said. He never met him, right? Saul never met the prophet born of a virgin. He met with the apostles, learned from them. Then he began to on this road to Damascus back to Turkey and Byzantine, right? He began to teach them about Judaism. And one of the things he said, they didn't have to do anything special, right? They could just bring whatever paganism that they were practicing into the Judaism. They didn't have to change. They just had to accept. So that's part of Paul's perspective on Judaism. And then that aspect of Judaism was taken into, that's where they adopted Christianity when they came together and created, what did they call that? The Nices or something like that. Nicaea. Anyway, so that's where Christianity basically is derived from Paul, right? Who never met the Christ, who never met the prophet born of a virgin. He just got he got the information about the Christ from a second party. So Paul is a third party representative of the prophet born of a virgin. So his message is not even first party, right? It's third party. Okay, so now, and the Judaism that the synagogue of Satan they got it from Paul, right? Okay, and I'm sure they probably added a bunch of their own stuff in there, like homosexuality, because that's what they were, phallic worshippers. The Ashkenazis were phallic worshippers. They worship the private parts of men, right? And that's where you get the great homosexual. They're the descendants of Cain, right? Okay, now, the murderer of his brother, right? Okay, which they're continuing to do now because of jealousy, right? The jealousy of the DMT that they don't have. Their jealousy of the DMT they don't have, and they're keeping humanity down, because oppressing humanity, because they don't want humanity to overpower them with the DMT. So they do anything they can to pollute the person's mind, body, and soul to keep them under the Ukrainians' control, right? The synagogue of Satan, the control of the synagogue of Satan. Okay, so as we said, the Ukrainians are the Neanderthals, SS Nazis, Nazi Zionists, followers of Saul. They are the narcissistic synagogue of Satan, and nation of the rat child Antichrist, colonial occupiers of the Afro-Kemetic Alkibu land of Palestine, and they are the satanic Nazi murderers, sociopath, ethnic. They are the ones that they are the satanic Nazi murderous sociopaths, ethnically cleansing the nation of Palestine. Okay. Now, as we said, we're saying goodbye to all of this as we, enter the new age, right through the door, right? That and nobody can just pass through that door because the door is protected by death. So not just anybody will get past that door. So some will be left behind because they won't be able to transcend death because they won't have the pure heart. Only the pure heart, will be able to transcend death. But some might say, okay, what about the homosexuals? Do they? I'm not talking about homosexuals. I'm talking about homosexuals, same gender lovers. They may say, well, they don't have a pure heart. Again, we're not the judge of them. Allah is the judge, right? But those who are religiously homosexual, those who serve the synagogue of Satan, they don't have a pure heart, right? So in order to transcend that door, one has to, and get into the new age, they have to have a pure heart. That door is protected by death. Okay? Now, so we're leaving all this behind, right? The colonialism, totalitarianism, plantation consciousness, and all of that. And that is part of it too. In 1929, when the Rothschild collapsed, the Republic of America's stock market, in a hostile takeover, they took over the banking system and the instituted the Federal Reserve banking system and created a birth certificate system, and thus enslaved not only America but the citizens of America. And every president thus forth served the rat child by way of the Federal Reserve because America was basically broken. America was broken, and that means forcefully broken because they flooded the stock market with, they collapsed the banks, flooded the stock market with by letting everybody invest. Well, what they did, they broke the economy too because they had everybody invest in the stock market, and then people lost their money in the stock market when it collapsed, and they bought out the banks and all of these type of things, right? So, when the stock market collapsed, of course, economy collapsed, and they bought up all, like they did the same thing they did in Europe after what's his name? Who was that? The French Revolution. It was it was Napoleon Bonaparte, right? When he lost the war in France, the Rothschilds said that Napoleon won the war, and all the people in Britain sold their stock for very cheap. Rothschild bought it up and became rich, then started the Bank of England, bought up the Bank of England and started his Federal Reserve System. Then he came over to America and did the same thing, collapsed their market, and then bought up the banks and all of that, and then started the Institute of the Federal Reserve and birth certificates, and that way enslaved humanity because humanity has to pay back the debt that's borrowed by the government to pay for its bills, right? Okay, so and after that, and because of that, humanity has had America has been a slave of the rat childs ever since, and they are the ones who started the occupation. Well, they took over the occupation from the Britons, right? From Britain, the Rothschilds took over the occupation from Britain, right? After the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the Britain occupied Palestine. Then during World War II, Britain promised to give Rothschild Palestine, right? Because Rothschild wanted the Holy Land all of the time. But so he started World War II, persecuted the Jews in a Holocaust, so he could say that they were persecuted, so they needed a home. Thus, he was setting the stage to take control, to be for the Antichrist when he come take control of the Holy Land, and thus set up their one world government, so that the Rothschild could control the world, right? The Antichrist, as the Antichrist when the beast fell, and that's where we are right now, right? As it relates to their time, right? Now, and we also said that Antichrist was going to start a war, right? He was going to start the war, right? Because they were at the skirmish line, so they were desperate to try to entrap humanity in any way it can to keep humanity back, right? Because they were losing, right? Okay, and what did we say? The best thing humanity can do is not show up at the fight, right? Let them fight themselves. Let them stay desperate. Now, what they're trying to do, throw everything out there, all this shit against everybody, right? They're trying to throw the shit out there, right? With the right, with so-called, from what I understand, there's supposed to be a new pandemic out there, right, that's building up, right, and this has to do with the respiratory virus, right, pneumonia or something like that, and this one's supposed to be deadly, right, and then the war, and then the collapse of the economy, and all of these different things that are supposed to be going down, right, and then just in time for another election, right? Okay, so it's just quite interesting that all of this is taking place, right before a new election, because they are losing, right? And they don't want Donald Trump to get in there and mess up their plans, right? Again, so, and even trying to take him off the ballot and trying to uh, keep him all bogged down in court cases, right? To try to slander him, malign him, ruin his reputation, so that people don't vote for him, right? Um, right? They're trying to gaslight him, right? But as we said, if he takes care of America the way he takes care of his children, we will be good. Humanity will be good. The whole world will be good. And that's a fact. You know? Trying to get my place back. Ooh, we're going to go to video 6.